Hello and welcome to Castival. This is the podcast which brings on brilliant guests to pitch their dream music festival. My name's Matt Hoss and I'm the host, and I'm here to guide you around their festival. Today's guest is actor, writer, comedian, and member of Pappies. It's Ben Clark. Hello.
Hello. How you doing?
Yeah, really well, thank you. What a pleasure to have you here.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, it's long overdue. The third Pappies member to be on here.
Well, I like to think that you've made me headline the Pappies lineup, so I'm honoured.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, actually, Emma Corsham's going to headline next season.
It's fair enough. It's fair enough.
I wonder if there's any inner hierarchy or debates going on about this podcast, but let's not get into internal politics here. But welcome to Castival, mate. It's great to have you.
Thank you, buddy.
Question I always like to start with is, if someone were to ask you what kind of music are you into, how do you typically respond to that question?
Well, I think I've got the same response as pretty much everyone.
Yeah.
Which is all sorts, very varied.
Yeah.
And I can actually tell you because very usefully, it's that time of year that Spotify have done its Wrapped.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
So, in all its glory, after all of my years of thinking, I have a very varied palette now when it comes to music, not like when I was younger. Mm-hmm. And in at number one, I have indie rock.
Yeah.
Which is basically exactly what I listened to when I was 16.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, mate, you've not come far at all.
And also, the issue, I've gone exactly through the same footsteps you went in there, because through the Spotify Wrapped, you're always like, oh yes, you're going to see all the cool stuff I've been listening to, but it just turns out you listen to the same song 50 times over every day for the last 5 years. Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things like, oh, I thought I had more of a varied range, but it turns out, I'm very predictable, actually.
Same old. And then also, number two, rock.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, mate. I thought you were better than this.
Yeah.
But I think it gets slightly more interesting. You go, oh, yeah, number three, dance pop.
Okay. That is a curveball, to be fair.
That really is a curveball, isn't it? And number four, soundtrack.
Yeah. Yes. Well, to be fair, I think every writer or comedian has one of those, because, especially when you're writing, it's quite good to get into the zone with those. Yeah.
Yeah, 100% actually. Writing, definitely.
Although when the same happened for me, which came in number four, but I think it came into it wasn't it wasn't score music. We called it scorecore, which is like a very new term for me. So
scorecore.
Yeah, it was quite strong as well.
That's some hardcore soundtracks.
It was the upper end. I don't listen to any of the pansy soundtracks. No, I'm the alt-right of soundtrack listeners.
Man.
I've never heard something so right for the cutting room floor than that line, but just for my own credibility.
And yeah, number five, hip hop.
Okay, yeah.
So there we go.
Yeah, that's actually not bad. The last three are doing a lot of heavy lifting there for you.
They really are, and also I have to confess that this is a shared Spotify account with my girlfriend, and I think that the dance pop and soundtrack are probably more her influence than mine.
Yes, that's a very particular issue. And I remember 5 years ago, I remember saying to my friend, he's a little bit older, he's about 15 years older than me, and he went to go and see Nieces and Nephews and played a lot of children's music, and we're both quite into our music quite a lot, so whenever we do hang out, we're like, okay, we're going to talk a lot about this. And I saw on his recently played stuff like Crazy Frog or Baby Shark, and I was like, that's so not cool, man. But now I'm like, you kind of have to appease the masses, you know what I mean? You kind of
yeah, it's not all about you anymore.
Yeah, and it's the ranking of my charts is a small price to pay for any form of company. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you've got to compromise. That's what being in a relationship is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or having children. So I hear.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, anytime I'm on the first date, it's like, will you influence my Spotify ranking in any way? If so, get out of town. Come on.
I need to know right away what you're into, and if we're not compatible, then I'm afraid it's not going to work out, because my Wrapped is very particular.
I know you're joking there, Ben, but that does genuinely sound like me on a first date. I remember during a very dire year, I once wrote a Queen blog because I really got into Queen, and I read it out, all 3,000 words to a girl on a first date.
Mate.
Got a second date though, but not a third one.
Who were you dating, Brian May?
Yeah. It was. Roger Taylor was very, very jealous.
I quite like Queen, but that would be a red flag to me.
Yeah, I mean, like, of course it's a red flag. I mean, like, what part of that doesn't say like stable, normal person as well? Like, I mean, like, yeah. I'm very embarrassed for my past sins, but never mind.
Hey, we all are.
Yeah.
I've done worse, but I'm not going to tell you about it.
Yeah. I'm glad this isn't being broadcast in any particular way. But,
yeah, that's it.
So I want to tap in more into the indie rock and rock vibe and all the other influences you've had as well. So what was some of the first albums you bought as a teenager? The first albums you bought?
Oh, okay. My first album I bought. Oh, I'm trying to think. Actually, the first album I bought on CD is doesn't hold up particularly well. It was a Jules Holland live album.
Well, when you say didn't hold up very well, at least I was thinking definitely more cancelled. Do you know what I mean? Like I bought Morrissey and like the Lost Prophets. So like at least it's salvageable. Do you know what I mean? Jules,
you know what? In some ways, less embarrassing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Jules Holland is
Jules Holland live, but you know what? I was going to say I stand by it, but clearly I don't. So.
Yeah, I stand by it, but I'm right full of embarrassment.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, tapes-wise, How to Make Friends and Influence People, which is a TerraVision album, 1977 by Ash.
Okay,
that was a big one. But yeah, these are on tape. That's how old I am.
You know, I don't think I've ever listened to tape. I used to have a Walkman when I was a kid, and it just seems so unsalvageable these days. Because we can have everything at the click of a thumb these days, but now you have to load out the CD, take the CD with you. It's quite a chunky thing, and but at the time you didn't see it like that, did you?
Well, I will say this. Obviously, like it went from tape to CD, and tapes were in terms of like out and about walking around way better than a CD player. I then had like a Discman, and that would skip if you knocked it ever so slightly. It wasn't at all practical, and also like with tapes you could get an entire album on one side and an entire album on the next. Whereas CDs you couldn't do any of that. So.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Tapes are better in a lot of ways. Yeah,
and also I think they definitely have an iconic vibe to it as well, especially with the tape deck and the headphones as well.
Yeah, there's a romance to it.
Absolutely.
And also making mixtapes back in the day of tape. There was a real craft to that.
So, did you ever make any mixtapes for people? How many did you make?
Actually, we used to do, me and Tom, also from Pappy's. When we were growing up, we used to do, we were part of the same youth theatre, and it used to do quite a few trips abroad, and we used to make, for every trip we used to make a mixtape for it. Me and Tom would have competing mixtapes. And we put so much work into them. Like I remember one of Tom's, his kind of crowning glory. He did a tape called. We got obsessed with a film called Any Given Sunday, which is about American football, and it had a big Al Pacino halftime speech in it, which we loved. And he keeps talking about inches, the kind of margins of error. So he made the mixtape Inches. And in between songs would cut in little bits of the speech.
That's so cool.
I'm glad you think that.
Yeah, but I do so think it's so I think that's brilliant. And I'm not sure if I mentioned this on the podcast before, but in my own time, do you know Guardians of the Galaxy, the Marvel film?
Yeah.
And if anyone doesn't know it, it's a film which features a lot of music before 1988, which is quite funky and cool, and there's a certain aesthetic and vibe to it. So for my friends' kids kids, I make they're massive fans of Guardians of the Galaxy, so I make them a mixtape every year with those kind of sounds. It's pre-1988 music, but that kind of cool sounds.
That's brilliant.
In the first one I made, it was just music. Then I started adding storylines to it and also my own voiceover work onto it. So
yes, mate.
See, you think it's cool. A lot of people on Instagram didn't think it was cool, but...
Well, our version of cool and everyone else's are two very different things.
That's why I do this podcast, to hang around with people who think I'm cool. Would you like to hear my Queen blog?
You know what? I'm sold. Let's hear it. Or 3,000 words, please.
This is the best first date I've ever been on, Ben. So in Pappies, I believe that you're the one who makes a lot of the music for the podcasts and for Flat Sam's. So how long have you been playing instruments for?
Well, officially, since I was about 4.
Oh, that's so cute.
I started playing the violin when I was very young.
Oh, cool.
And played the violin from like 4 to the age of 18.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as I stopped having lessons, I've like picked it up like twice since. So it's quite a shame.
Yeah.
But around that time, I got a guitar for like my 18th birthday, and then I was like, "Well, I'm not going to play the violin now. I've got a guitar, mate.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen." So I play the guitar. I would say I'm okay.
No, I think pretty
That's
good.
it.
Pretty good.
Thanks, mate. And yeah, started doing the music for. And in fact, again, on my 30th birthday, Tom and Matthew bought me the microphone I'm speaking into, a little audio interface, because we'd started doing the podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, our producer would kind of put together the music. I'd play it and he'd put it all together. But they like gave me the stuff so that I could start doing that. And so yeah, over the last 10 years or so, it's a long time.
Yeah, I saw the real life, real time grimace there. Like, oh,
yeah,
God, no.
Approaching 40 now.
Oh, bless you.
Kind of learnt how to do all of that. Kind of a bit more of the kind of music production stuff. But again, very happy amateur. But I'm happy with the happy amateur.
Well, I think this is an interesting question and I usually talk to people who play instruments, but since you've literally produced music in that way, once you've produced music, do you see and appreciate music more, or do you see a different side to it?
Well, I think that I've kind of always had that kind of appreciation for it, because my brother's a musician.
Oh, really?
And so he's been doing that from a very young age. And like, you know, so he uses kind of way better programs than me, a lot more professional and all the rest of it. So I've kind of seen it all. And in fact, that was kind of how music was for me. So growing up, he was like my biggest influence.
Yeah.
Particularly when I was younger. It wasn't until I got to secondary school that I realised like it was devastatingly uncool, the stuff that I've been listening to from my childhood. But I've always kind of resiliently been like, no, but that's good, you know, technically that's good music and all the rest of it.
Yeah, you're kind of setting yourself up for failure if you go, well, technically, actually, it's very good music, actually.
Yeah, well, that's it. And you kind of, the kind of, in secondary school, the battle lines are drawn a little bit of kind of what you're into. And it seemed to be kind of, you know, it was kind of like more kind of hip-hoppy stuff, or more pop stuff, or more kind of rock stuff. And that was kind of like, you know, the groups of who you are. Yeah. And I didn't really fit into any of that. We're like, I quite like Deacon Blue. It's like, mate, you're not hanging out with any of us.
Yeah. And funnily enough, I'd never really heard of Deacon Blue, but funnily enough, Deacon Blue's popped up quite a lot in the last couple of weeks for being on this podcast as well. So, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
well, there we go.
Yeah.
I've got some bangers.
Yeah. I don't know any of them. But so we're going to be talking about your festival in 1 second. But have you been to many festivals in your time? Are you a fan of festivals?
I love festivals, and I've been to quite a few.
Yeah.
Again, I don't want to retrace all the steps that Tom went on, but we grew up together and have been like best friends from about the age of 10. So it's quite hard to stray from that path.
Yes.
We actually went to our first musical festival musical festival.
Musical festival. There was a Hamilton. Like Les Mis. It was really good.
That's not a bad idea, actually.
Yeah. Oh my god, yeah.
But yeah, my parents go to a music festival every year and have done for decades.
Yeah.
They go to Cropredy, which is a folk festival.
I've never heard of that, but it sounds... it's got crop in the name, it's got a pun, it's strong. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And also with Cropredy, they have basically Fairport Convention, which is a big folk band kind of collective that have like, they've been going for years and years and years, and have like kind of like a rolling lineup a little bit. They always headline. So it's kind of their festival. Yeah. Which is quite a funny way like, do you know what? We probably won't be able to headline a festival,
Yeah.
Let's just create our own.
So, genuinely, I think that's... when I started doing comedy gigs, as a comedian, I set up my own branch of shows so I could be booked to do shows. I think that's the same thing. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
That's pretty much how every comic has to start. It's like, I'm going to just have to start my own night and invite people along, and then I get to actually have some stage time. That's so true. That's how so many people get started. But it's exactly what we did as well.
Because I went to Canterbury at university, and
one of them.
Yes, one of them. Yeah. And but I would have to go to London if I wanted to do gigs. So I'd have to spend like 50 quid to get a train to do an open mic gig to only in front of comedians who didn't give a shit. And I was like, well, this probably isn't a great idea. But also when you're young and a comedian, you also want to like, I'll do anything. And and that's not necessarily the best tactic. So yeah, setting one up is a good idea, setting up your own thing. But Ben, I think we should headline our own festival and book our own festival. I think this is what your festival. We should headline your festival.
This is it. Right, I'm gonna have to adapt our my lineup a little bit.
Yeah. Sorry, Stone Roses. Time for Matt Hoss and Ben.
Clarky and Hoss.
Yes, that does sound quite good actually.
It's not bad, is it?
What kind of music would we do? Would we do indie rock or rock?
I reckon rock.
Oh yeah. Well,
just straight up and down.
Yes, that's how
I think that's how a lot of indie bands. I feel like when you see quite a few bands, they tend to kind of heavy up their set a little bit.
Yeah,
they sound a bit heavier live because I think ultimately, whoever you are, and I've always thought this, you must, you play your lovely music, you go into the studio, it sounds great, but when you get in front of a crowd. You must just want to go, oh man, I just really want to let rip here.
Yeah.
I just really want to rock out.
Absolutely. Well, I think, although I speak from absolute ignorance here, but I believe...
of course, so do I, mate.
I just want to clarify that I know nothing about this, but I'm going to say it anyway because I have confidence.
I thought that was a given, guys. I want to clarify. I know nothing about anything.
There is a disclaimer at the top of every episode going, "These people don't know anything. Don't take them."
He warned. They don't know shit.
Yeah. I might clip that and put that at the top. Yeah, they don't know shit. It sounds like a very drunk mother. But yeah, I kind of think that when you're, I think guitarists and a lot of musicians play a lot faster live because there's a lot of adrenaline, and that's why having a drummer live is so important because they're like, no, let's stay on time, but like, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, I think it's time to go and talk about some of the admin behind your festival. Let's go and set up camp. Hello and thank you so much for listening to Castival Season 3. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you along the way. If you like what we do, please give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts and write us a little kind review. Also, why don't you share our podcast? Tell a friend about it. Word of mouth really helps spread the word, so please help us do that. Why don't you tweet at us at Castival Podcast and drop me a follow at Matt Hoss Comedy. Why don't you watch me on Twitch at Matt Hoss Comedy? If you like sci-fi books, why don't you buy my book called Purify from www.matthosscomedy.com. Enjoy the rest of the episode.
Needed a wee late last night, and I've got no place to go. I took a wrong turn, and now I'm here. I'm pissing in the field.
So, Ben, what is the name of your festival?
Well, it's not good.
Is that the name of it? It's not good. It's not good. It's not good.
Do you know what? That would be a better name. I've gone in the kind of bestival. I've gone for Benstable.
Benstable's not... You know what? You back yourself, mate. That's not bad. I like it. Benstable. It sounds a bit like a condition. Benstable. You know what I mean?
That is something I'm more likely to have named after me than a festival, in all honesty. It's kind of a bit like gout.
Yeah. And you get it from attending the festivals. You know, sometimes you get like a lanyard with the thing. You get Benstable at the end of it. You get like...
Mate, you've gone too hard. You're giving yourself a Benstable.
Oh no! You need to go and get some foot cream for that Benstable. Yeah.
Like trench foot and yeah.
Well, I think every time you go to see the doctor, to include the first name which you pitched, you go, "Oh, I think you've got a bad case of Benstable. Tell me how it is, doctor." It's not good. So yeah, just incorporate both of them. I like Benstable, but whereabouts geographically would you like your festival to be?
Now that's a good question, and one that I haven't really thought about. I think in lovely sunny Wales.
Why Wales?
Well, because I realised that we got a bit excited and moved away from the festival chat, but one festival I've been to quite a few times is Green Man.
Oh yeah.
And what strikes you about Green Man, if you ever go, is just how beautiful a setting it is. Mm-hmm. And I think that quite often in festivals, that element's left out a little bit. I could be wrong, but most of the festivals I've been to, just, fields, the backdrop, like the main stage at Green Man, it's kind of in a valley.
Yeah.
So the backdrop to the stage is this beautiful hill, this beautiful mountain, which is just, it's magic.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds really cool.
Yeah, and also because it's in a bit of a valley, there's also like a natural amphitheatre to the other side of the stage.
Yeah.
So there's not a bad seat in the house. So it's just, it's one of the most incredible main stages there is going.
Yeah, and I think that's a really amazing point that you make, because with certain stages at certain festivals, the natural incline does actually really, really help. Of
course, pyramid stage is big for that.
Yes, absolutely. Also, the second stage at Download, not the main stage, but the second stage is very good for that, because it's allows everyone to have a fair seat. And I like that, because as a short person, there's nothing worse at a gig just being very close to someone else's shoulder blades, if you know what I mean. So it can be a right pain as well.
Oh, I tell you what, that's a pet peeve of mine as well, and it kind of goes the other way around. I wouldn't say I'm particularly tall, but that classic thing, and particularly when you're with ladies at a concert, they're like, right, let's go forwards, and they kind of drag you forwards, and them going forwards is generally fine.
Yes. Oh my god. Yeah.
But you and your tall mates, because then you end up you just end up ruining someone's view, and you're like trying to kind of crouch and turn around and be like, I'm sorry. And
also, like, there's some ultra pass ag going on there, because what happens, because I'm usually the kind of person that's like, I'm there at the front from the beginning, you know what I mean? I'm going to stay there all day, and so when people come in, I'm like, I've been here from the start, you know what I mean? There should be like a queue system, but what happens, I don't really do this, because, like, a gig's a gig, and but also, like, people get, like, really protective, you know what I mean? They do this thing where they kind of staunch their back. I'm going to do the demonstration, like this. They do like this. Yeah. They get their arms around the back, and they're like, all right, you're not moving. And, like, it's quite clear, like, they'll let some people go, but you, not a fucking chance. Like,
yeah, we always refer to it as boxing out.
Yes.
So when we're at the festival, we have our spot. Like at Glastonbury, we have our spot. Mm-hmm. And I would tell you what it is, but I don't want anyone listening to take our spot.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
There's a specific place we go to, and it has geographical points, so you always know. And when you get there, you just try and be a little bit larger. Yeah. You try and box out. You try and give yourself just, I don't want to ruin everyone else's time or anything, but you just want to give yourself a little bit of space. So when it gets busy, you're not just, too packed.
And I think that rule also applies with tents as well. You know what I mean? If you find a little area that you want to go in, and then you can take a little bit more liberties if it's a fair few of you as well. But
that's it. Bags on the floor. Yeah. And kind of box out.
Whoa, that's the noise of boxing. But also I remember this is a memory which just popped up in my head, but like I remember with I remember going to see Bruce Springsteen in I believe it's Sunderland with my dad, and it was really cool. And it was one of those gigs where you have to pay a lot more to go to the VIP section. So we were at the front of the normal section because we were like Yorkshire peasants, if you know what I mean. But like, but I remember there was a German mum and a German daughter there. The daughter was about 14, the mum was about was obviously like about 20, 25 years older. But like, and they were there in front of us, and there was a rail in front of us, and they were like, we're going to see if we can get to the VIP area. And this is the most ludicrous thing that I've ever been asked at a gig. Like, can you save our space? There's like 1,000 people want to get into this area, and you want us to save your space, who we don't know you, and they didn't come back as well. I was like, wow, that's rude. That's rude, actually. I forgot about how annoyed I was at that, but it was really annoying. And I saw him in the VIP section afterwards. I was like, you. We are the proletariat, and you are the bourgeoisie. We will.
You don't know you're born.
That's what my dad said. But yeah, he actually said some quite xenophobic things as well. But never mind. Never mind. Talking about boxing and camping, will there be camping at your festival?
Oh, 100%.
Yes.
I think it's it's not a real festival unless you're really mucking in.
Tell you what, there's a real line in the sand with people at Castable, because like a lot of people don't like camping as much as I thought they would, actually. Because there's a lot of people who do like camping and a lot of people who don't. But would you make it mandatory, or is it like people can choose what they want to do?
Oh yeah, you can have a day ticket if you want to be that guy. You can, maybe even. I'll tell you this, actually, we've done Glastonbury quite a few times. Mm-hmm. And one of the years, my girlfriend, along with a bunch of other mates, were like, we're going to glamp. Mm-hmm. They found a site, and it was like, these TP tents with proper beds in. It had a bar. Mm-hmm. They'd take you on site in a quad.
Oh my God.
They'd pick you up at the end of the night. All of this stuff. Mm-hmm. And she was like, so you're going to come, stay in the glamping with me? And I was like, no.
Yeah. No.
Me, Tom, and his brother just shared a tent I was like, I'm not paying extra for glamping, you mad?
Yeah.
It's like so much nicer. There are showers. There's a hot tub. It's like, no, mate, it's not a festival.
I think I'm quite a easygoing person, but the most disgusting quality of me is I've never ever seen the appeal of a festival shower, because I kind of think that like once you go to a festival, you're planning not to shower, right? That's the whole vibe. Everyone stinks. That's the whole point. You know what I mean? Like, only shower when you get back, and even then, maybe take a week after. You know what I mean? Like.
Well, now you've gone too far.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I had to self-isolate not because of COVID, but just because I smell quite bad.
Just because of the stank.
Yeah, that stank, indeed. How many people would you theoretically like at your festival?
Oh, wow. How many people? Oh, I don't know. That's so hard, because obviously there are some big names. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, in an ideal world, about 350.
Yeah. It's a hard chemistry, isn't it? It's hard, isn't it?
I'd say, let's go 50,000.
50,000. That's nice.
Now, I also have to bear in mind, obviously, I've only gone for like the main stage.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So I'd hope that there'd be other places that would kind of soak up the extra people. Obviously, for the headliners, you'd want the whole festival there. Mm-hmm. But for some of the others,
Yeah, absolutely.
You can go mill around. Don't worry about it. You're not obliged to watch all of them. They're quite pen specific, some of them.
Well, to be fair, like when we play, people don't have to turn up. It's fine.
Oh,
we're just in it for us. Just a jam session.
That's fine. Main stage, about a dozen people.
Most of them are friends who feel obliged to come.
Yeah. Some very confused punters.
Yeah. Which is also another good band name, actually.
Confused punters, not bad.
And final question for this area. What kind of food and drink would you like at your festival? Is there any specifics?
Oh, good stuff. Actually, I will tell you this. A few festivals I've been to have this rotisserie chicken stand, mm-hmm. and it's the best. Mm-hmm. I think I first had it at Green Man, and then I also managed to find the exact same stand at Glastonbury.
Yes, because like there's a lot of different stands and stalls which go to a lot of the same festivals every year. So like I remember going to lots of different festivals as a teenager, being like, oh, that's the same one. Oh my god, like the same paella stand. Oh my god. And there used to be like a milkshake company who used to do it. It was like Delicious or something like that. And there was a milkshake. We went to every festival, and my brother we would always go and have one there. And it used to be like a point of our festival, if you know what I mean. It was really nice.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, and but yeah, I think rotisserie chicken. I remember at Leeds Festival when I went there. Like there used to be a Yorkshire pudding stand. Oh, like the smell coming off of that was so.
Yeah, there's one of those at Glastonbury as well. You can have like it's absolutely disgusting the amount of food they put in it.
Yes, but I always.
Of course, I finish it, and it's basically got an edible plate.
Yes, exactly. I mean, it's not edible, but it's still tasty.
I presume.
Ben, you weren't meant to eat the bamboo knife and fork.
Oh, that stage of the festival, it's all going down.
I've
double dropped a fork.
Yeah. Oh goodness.
I've given myself a right Benstable.
Oh, it's not good. It's not good.
It's not good. He's off to the first aid tent for the third time today.
Yeah, Benstable. That's where you have so many first aid tents.
Yeah, basically all the stands are either a rotisserie chicken or a first aid.
This sounds like a really disastrous festival.
It's not good, is it? The music better be good because, oh dear. I'm very sorry if you're veggie.
Yeah, well, I'm a vegan, but even so, I think I can eat some gauze at the first aid tent. It's fine. It's fine. We'll make do.
Lady and tramping a bandage with someone else.
Yeah, that's actually quite romantic as well. And like we get to share the fluffy bit in the middle. Like, bandage.
That's it. Ooh, what are your thoughts on blogs about Queen?
Brilliant stuff. Well, I think that's a perfect point to leave the camp and head towards the main gates of your festival.
Yes. Festival, are you ready? Here we go! Get on your feet! If you know this one, sing along.
Okay, here we go. So, 3 days.
Brilliant.
I've given you a whole weekend. I think I've done about 5 acts a day.
So, Ben, who is the opening act of your Friday night? Who's going to set the tone right for your festival?
Well, Friday afternoon.
Friday afternoon, of course.
Let's settle in. Let's settle in. Right, okay. So, this one is... When I first started coming up with it, I was like, what are all the classics? All the best bands you've seen at festivals, all of that. And then I suddenly realised, actually, I can also curate to get some acts that I've never actually seen but wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
So my first one's one of those. It's Lady Leshurr.
Oh, wow, yes. I know the name of Lady Leshurr. I believe she's a rap artist in the UK, is she?
Yeah, that's right. I think she's Birmingham based.
That's brilliant.
She started doing these, they're great. If you look her up on YouTube, she started doing these freestyle raps, these kind of music videos called The Queen's Speech. Mm-hmm. And I think the Queen's Speech 4 is the one that kind of things started to really take off for her.
That's amazing, yeah.
And then these kind of one-take music videos, really brilliant. She's just like, mesmerising. Brilliant rapper, brilliant lyrics, and like a really engaging performer. Yeah,
so the very little that I do know, I know my friend played a lot in 2016, and I knew her name from that, but also the very little I did listen was very original, very engaging, and also quite funny lyrics, I remember.
Really, very entertaining. She's very kind of scathing, but she's also like not at all foul-mouthed.
Yeah.
Not that I mind that. You'll
Yeah.
see later on. That is not an issue for me.
I'm trying to think of a like filthy band, like Ben Clark, Matt Horse, and the Pussy. So something like that, like something grim like that.
That would be grim.
Yeah, I mean,
really.
the dozen people about to turn up for that is now gone down to 5. So.
Just the intro alone, you just see half of the people walk off.
No thanks.
The other half just boo.
Let's go and see Meatloaf instead. Yeah, come on. Let's go and get rotisserie chicken, shall we?
Third of the day, why not?
What do you quite like about Lady the Show, and why is she perfect to open up the festival?
I just think, well, this is it. I haven't seen her live, so I don't know for sure. But I'm pretty certain, she would be high energy. And also, what I love about festivals is trying to coax friends who've not seen a band before to a stage to watch someone. And I bet she'd be one of those, I imagine most of the people I'd be with wouldn't have seen her before but would love her.
Yeah.
By the end of it only took me one song of watching her to be like, right, I love her. She's amazing.
I love it when you have that, and also you kind of fall in love with bands there and then. Oh, it's really
totally.
special.
And obviously that goes both ways. You get brought along to someone and you're like, oh no, never heard of them, and you're like, oh my god, this is my new favorite band.
Also, but on the flip side though, like I've done it before, where you try and take a friend to see a band, like, look, they're gonna be amazing. Come on, they're gonna be really good, and like, okay, sure, and that it's like when they just don't get it whatsoever. Not necessarily don't get it, but just don't enjoy it. And it's kind of like when you show someone a YouTube video, like, this is really funny, and they don't laugh once. It's kind of like, well, it's like, yeah, that's my stand-up routines, but like, never mind. But like.
Yeah, that's definitely the fun of it, and I suppose if you didn't have that edge, it would be less gratifying the times where it really works.
Yes, absolutely.
But I love. I mean, that's one of the most amazing things about a festival is going to see the bands you love, but also taking a punt on people that you've never heard of before.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's so rare that you do that with live music. Mm-hmm. Most people would, and me included, you go and see live music because they're a band that you know and you love, and you want to hear all their songs just before, so it's all fresh in your head. And taking a punt on people you've never heard of before seems to be a real festival vibe.
Absolutely, and that's also the same reason why I love support bands as well. I always go and see the support bands because it's always something new and different, and
totally.
You might find, and some of the best support bands I've properly gone away and loved. Like the last gig I went to before lockdown was in February. I went to go and see the Menzingers live, who are a American indie band.
Oh right,
indie rock actually. So
there we go.
Yeah, well, speaking the language.
And make a note.
The support band was Spanish Love Songs, who from California, and they were so phenomenal live. And they released an album this year in 2020 called Brave Faces Everyone, which is just perfect. You know what I mean? And
brilliant!
It kind of turned out to be a perfect 2020 album, if you know, because it came out in January, but it was very reflective of the rest of the year, if you know what I mean. So it was,
great.
So yeah, it was really
fantastic. I'll have to look them up. That sounds
absolutely
great.
So after Lady the Show, who do you have?
A weird one. There's a band called Ozomatli.
I've never heard of them.
Yeah, not many people have, I wouldn't say. But it was a band that I first saw. Actually, seeing footage of Glastonbury. And they were playing, at the time, it was the World Music Stage. And they're kind of like a real kind of fusion band of like very up-tempo, kind of brass, kind of Mexican influenced, kind of almost like carnival music. But then at the time they had, for their first album, they had like Charlie Tuna from a Jurassic 5 and Cut Chemist also playing with them. So they'd have hip hop elements. They were just so much fun. Great kind of party festival vibe. I went to see them probably about half a dozen times, and they were always playing like tiny places in England. First time I saw them, they were on after a Battle of the Bands in Birmingham.
Oh my god! Yeah.
So their set wasn't until about midnight, and it was like £5 in, and it was one of the best best gigs I've ever been to.
Yeah.
And also, it was like my two brothers and sister all came along. I think it's the only time we've all gone to see a band together.
That's amazing.
And they all kind of turned up really late in the night, and I didn't think any of them were going to come, and then we all turned up, watched the band together, and it was like one of the best gigs ever. Like everyone's socks were like completely blown off by them. So
That's
them
amazing. That's a really great one. They called Ozzy Matley, sorry.
Ozomatli. But and sadly, the last time I went to see them, they weren't so good. And like gradually, they've kind of lost a bit of the lineup, a little bit the pep in their step. But I'm kind of hoping they're gonna kind of make a resurgence.
Yeah, it's always really disappointing when you have like a staple and then. Yeah, because I've seen bands before and I've really raved about them, and then the next time you see them, it's like, oh, it means that the first time you saw them was really special, but the second time, it's like, oh, yeah, it can be a bit bewildering in that way as well. Like,
yeah, and really, you shouldn't give up on them, because if you were, maybe you saw Pappy's one year and it was really great, and then the next you just see a bad gig, man.
Yeah.
Keep coming to the shows.
Yeah. Well, for me, if you see a bad gig, just keep on going, and just one of them might be good eventually. So like,
that's it.
Just keep on.
With Clarkey and Hoss.
Yeah.
You've got to stick with us, guys. We're a work in progress.
Well, our set is 6 hours long, and we'll only play 3 songs, which we'll like, learn over the course of that hour. Yeah.
By the end, we'll know them properly.
Yeah. For sure. Well, ultimately sounds great and very, very novel as well. So, who else do you have for your Friday?
Okay. Friday, next up, we have Lizzo.
Oh, mate, hello.
Yeah. Now, I realise there is no indie on my Friday night lineup.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to prove that I have.
I
listen to other stuff, okay, guys?
The Friday is screw you, Spotify Wrapped. You're not at the bottom of me.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, Lizzo, who absolutely fantastic performer, like no other. And we saw her at the last Glastonbury that was on, and it was just mesmerising, an amazing performance.
What's it?
So
So
powerful.
what was it about her performance which really stuck? Which was so memorable as well? Because I know a lot of people have really highly rated Lizzo, and to be honest, I don't listen to a lot of mainstream music. I listen to I stay in my own like shack, not because I'm not ignorant of it. It's just more like I just don't have the opportunity to do so. But yeah, so what is it? But Lizzo is one of these people that people are talking about so passionately, where it's kind of the infection has really come to me, if you know what I mean. So what is it about Lizzo seeing her live which really gave her that appeal?
Well, I would advise, if you're listening to this, and to you as well, is to go and watch her NPR NPR Tiny Desk?
Yes, I did. Yes, it's so good. I love those.
Yeah, a great way to watch music. It's like it's kind of like the Live Lounge, but good.
Yes, and it's like a little office. It's a little
office. People set up. They do these gigs, but they're often just really brilliant and a great introduction to a band.
Absolutely.
And her NPR Tiny Desk is amazing. So good. And yeah, she's just, well, first of all, she's got an incredible voice. Ridiculously good. Second of all, she's, like super sassy. Her lyrics are fun, entertaining, funny. She's just like the complete package. And lots of kind of, very positive vibes, very kind of body positive, kind of lots of kind of love yourself. It's almost like seeing like an evangelical preacher.
Yes, yeah.
But about kind of like
self-esteem
and it just like it really seeing her live, it is that kind of an experience where it's like, everyone's kind of hands up in the air, kind of shouting amen. Yes,
absolutely. And I kind of think that's such an amazing thing to have as well. Like, I think especially having that prominent voice in modern and mainstream music as well. I think it's great to have that. And that's I really do love Lizzo for that reason as well. So so Lizzo's going to light up the stage there. Who else is going to be? Who's on after Lizzo? The penultimate headliner.
Yes. Okay, so we've gone for a bit of a classic. gone for Hall and Oates.
You know what? It caught me off guard there. Hall and Oates. So tell me more about Hall and Oates, because big in the 80s, right?
Yeah, big in the 80s. Lots of fun kind of pop hits. You know, the kind of act that people, you know, quite a few people be like, oh, I've never really heard of them, and then you realise you know about 8 of their songs. And I saw them at Latitude a few years back, and they were just brilliant. You know, one of those acts that you go like they've clearly not missed a step. They've not lost nothing of like their original groove and ferv. Like their on stage presence is just brilliant. The songs sound amazing. They've still 100% got it. And you know, like me and my mate watched them, just sang through the whole thing, like they were just brilliant.
And I love it when, as we mentioned earlier, like if you still got that vitality, if you know what I mean, and still that punchiness, it's really good. You know what I mean? So
yeah, totally. And kind of that the Fridays kind of got that kind of fresh, funky feel generally.
Yes.
Through most of it, so that's they seem to kind of fit very nicely into that lineup.
I feel you've got a lot of upbeat and kind of like party starters here. I feel that the theme is actually quite nice, because he's like, all right, we're here to party, we're here to have a nice time, welcome to the Friday kind of vibe.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I like as I see it, it's kind of like Friday party, Saturday rock out, Sunday chill out.
I thought you were going to say Friday party, Saturday party, Sunday party, Monday it's alcoholism.
Monday, get yourself to that first date.
Oh, I can't stomach another goals.
You've gone too hard. You need the second first aid tent, because in the first one you've dropped 3 gorges.
yeah, ironically, you have to go to the first aid tent to get surgery to get them all out of your system. I'm vegan. Yeah. Brilliant. So, Hall & Oates, great show, and I don't think anyone's ever picked them before, so that's brilliant. So, who is your headliner for Friday night?
Headliner for Friday nights. This is my favourite artist of recent years.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know if she's quite headline status yet, but in my mind, she's just the most exciting artist around. It's Janelle Monáe.
I thought you were going to say that, and I think she is headline worthy as well, and she's quite popular in Janelle Monáe is the other one alongside Lizzo, where people talk so passionately about her as well. Rightly so. Like, there's so many amazing hits, originality, and also just wealth of good tunes as well. So
funky, like a little bit of hip hop. Just honestly, just if you've not listened to her, give her a punt. She's something else.
I also think I have never seen her live, but I imagine she would be absolutely amazing at a live show.
She really is. I've seen her live 4 times now.
Really?
And, the first time I saw her, we went. Oh, in fact, first time I saw her, Latitude. And actually, I was quite gutted, because we went to see Dexys as a little bit of like, Dexys, like Dexys Midnight Runners, great. We'll go along and try and see Come On Eileen, and then we'll go over to Janelle Monáe. But Dexys put on one hell of a show.
Oh, did they?
And they've kind of like, they did this amazing. This is quite weird to talk about another band here.
Yeah.
Now, but they put on like this. It was like a musical. Their album at the time was like this big like story. And so they kind of like acted out. Their entire set was like acting out this thing. Okay. And so, and all of the songs kind of slotted in to this kind of story of this guy together with this girl, and then them kind of splitting up.
It's like a theatre piece.
Yeah, it really was. And it was like one of the songs is like talking to his best mate about her, and all the rest of it. It was like them. It was astonishing. So it was the kind of thing that we're like, oh, we can't leave now. Yeah. Plus, they haven't done Come On Eileen yet.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
which of course they left right into the end. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, don't act that out if that's okay, because that could be misconstrued actually. So.
Yeah, very nice. Yes.
Sorry, it was a very coarse joke for
not at
our
all.
very cultured podcast. But alas, I saw an easy target and hit that low hanging fruit, which is what the acting out would be like as well.
But yeah, we finished watching that and kind of got to see like the last 4 songs of Janelle Monáe.
Yeah.
And then the next time I went to see her was at the Brixton Academy, and it was just one of the best live shows I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And she like came out on like Hannibal Lecter.
Oh my
they
god!
Wheeled her out in a straitjacket with a mask on, and like took the stuff off her, and like with the band going in the background, and then she like started on the first song, and it was just like, I feel like it's an old age thing now. I get like really emotional when I watch music.
Yeah,
and it doesn't have to be emotional music. It's just when something really gets me and when something's really good, I instantly start like welling up and get like, you know, proper frog in the throat. And that was like instantly that. She's doing like this fun, funky song, but I'm like, because I'm like, this is just so good.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I remember seeing a quote once saying that music is the language which has no words, but I think that's so along those lines. So basically, it's a sub language, and it kind of like I feel like with a lot of music that I listen to, it's people who understand and get you and relate to you in a way which you can just hear, and it can just be on a bass line. It could be the sentimentality of a riff or the tone of the song. Yeah, I mean, I feel like it kind of speaks to you in ways other than the verbal. Do you know what I mean? I think it's important, and especially in the live show where everyone's feeling that, it resonates so deeply.
Yeah, totally. I mean, she's next level. Oh, and also, I will say, if you've not heard her before, and you also want to get in, because I think her most recent album, Dirty Computer, is like my favourite album of the decade, I think.
Really?
Yeah,
For real?
I absolutely love it. And she did, for that, she did a short film. So on YouTube, there's like this Dirty Computer film, which is like again all of her albums, kind of concept albums, and hold as like a bit of a story. And so there's this 45-minute film, which is kind of like a plot which weaves together all of her singles and music videos from that album, and that's a brilliant watch. Awesome. That's a great, in lockdown, and you want to have a bit of a Friday night. Have a few drinks and watch that.
Yes, absolutely.
It's banging.
Yes, grab a rotisserie chicken and treat yourself.
Chuck a rotisserie chicken in the oven and rotate that oven.
Brilliant. Well, I think that's an amazing Friday with a lot of a strong vibe from it, and so let's head immediately to your Saturday, and let's go straight in there. So Saturday night, who have you got to open up your day?
Okay, opening up the day is the Hold Steady.
Yes, as mentioned in the Tom Parry episode as well. Like I really, really loved them, and they're one of the bands that I've gone away to kind of listen to quite regularly as well. And a great way to start off your Saturday as well.
Yeah, totally. And they were like how we talked about earlier on. I think Tom and Matthew both knew them a bit, and were like they were on at Latitude, and they coaxed me and a few other people along to go and see them. And I don't think I've ever enjoyed a band so much that I knew nothing about going into them. They just totally had me from word go, and it was like, you know, I think sometimes seeing a band, you kind of, to get the full enjoyment, it feels like you have to know some of their stuff. But with them, it really didn't matter.
It really adds to their type of music, which is upbeat and kind of like there's a lot of camaraderie with it, which I think you don't need to know the music. You can just have a laugh and enjoy. But like, but certain artists you do need to know the words to, or else like it's just kind of like it can be a bit alienating. Because I always found with like a band like Radiohead, if you don't know the songs, it's not going to be that much. Because I've seen them both with knowing the songs and without knowing the songs. It's such a different experience. Yeah,
I bet. Yeah, totally. I can really see that. And another thing I love about them is the fact that they didn't start until they were kind of late 30s, 40s, I think.
Wait, our band can be...
There's still hope for us all.
There's still hope, but it's not good.
heard there's a tiny bit of hope, mate.
That's what this podcast really is. It's just hope that one day I'll start a band. That's what it is. That's what it is.
You're just trawling all the comedians, just trying to find. Well, do you play bass? That is literally what you're doing at the start. Do you play the instruments, mate? Oh, I used to play the violin. Yeah, fine, you're in.
Yeah. Just need to find a drummer now, and we're sorted. But you know what? I've never noticed that about what I was doing. But yeah, you're quite right, actually, quite right. But yeah, I think Hold Steady are a wonderful start. Who have you got after Hold Steady?
Next, I got Ben Folds.
Nice. Is that Ben Folds solo or?
I'd like it with Ben Folds 5. I don't know if they still tour together or anything. But also, I feel like I had a bit of a missed opportunity. I saw them at I think it was V. I saw him at V, and it was the first time he'd gone solo. Mm-hmm. And so I was a big fan of Ben Folds 5. I went along and saw him. He was amazing, but he was doing a very concerted, I'm doing new album stuff, and didn't do any of the Ben Folds 5 stuff. And so it wasn't quite the experience I wanted from it, because he didn't play any of the hits that I knew, even though everything he did was brilliant. But I think he's a good kind of early in the day type act.
Yes.
I think, a lot of fun, get people on board. And yeah, I'm a big fan of him. Quite an old, I don't listen to him that much anymore, but I still think he's great.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's always disappointing when you kind of see a band doing all new stuff, which is fine, because that's obviously the reason they're there, to promote that album. But also, I think you have to do a nice mix of songs, just so people are on board and stuff like that. Because otherwise, I don't know, imagine if you paid... Like in stand-up, you do all new material. Yeah, some of it might be banging, but also it could be very raw, or people might not enjoy it as much as well.
Play the hits.
Yeah, exactly. Give me the hits. But also, I don't want to be a diva, because you have to kind of pick the one. Yeah, an artist has the choice to do whatever they want, but it can be disappointing at times.
Yeah, totally.
Alternatively, if you go into Setlist FM, I like to see what bands play, and sometimes people like to see what want to do beforehand, and sometimes I don't. And sometimes there's alternations, and sometimes you get I went to go and see Metallica in Manchester in 2019, which is really cool. But they did Manchester and London. That's the only two dates they did, and in Manchester they did a song called Lords of Summer, which is fine. Which is off their new album. Well, it's off the deluxe of the new album. But they also did in London. They did something called "Spit Off the Bone," which is one of my favourites. It's like, God damn it, why couldn't you do that? And and I always get a bit not a missed opportunity, but it's always like, oh, I wish you could have done that or that and that. But but then again, you can't control that. So
yeah, totally.
After Ben Folds 5, who would you like on?
Well, then things start to get real. We're getting into the Saturday night. It's about to go off. So first we've got Idols.
Oh, hello, mate. Hello. Oh, bloody heck. So can you tell us a little bit about Idols if no one's heard of them?
Idols are a new punk band. Well, newish. They are on their fourth album now.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm always like this. Oh, brand new. I've heard of them in last year, but they're new to me.
New to me. Yeah. They're punk, but they're very kind of lefty, liberal punk. So it's very angry songs, but what they're angry about is kind of the Conservatives and women's rights and stuff like that, and toxic masculinity and
sure. I also I liked how you said that. Yeah, left wing punks, as if there was a lot of right wing punks being like, yeah, fuck the NHS.
Yeah, very true, very true.
Yeah, I wish I was a smarter comedian to then do a more sophisticated joke. But then Brexit trade deals.
Although weirdly, it does seem like a load of kind of old punk, constantly let down by...
Yeah, actually, that's a really good point, because now Sex Pistols, Johnny Rotten's oh mate, you're not very punk anymore, where you're going Brexit's a really good thing. It's that's not necessarily a right wing thing necessarily, but also it conveys a certain type of British mentality which doesn't really align itself with punk as well.
Yeah, totally. It's that's it. And then you go like, oh, it's just because you're rich and you're trying to look after your farm or whatever it is. You just kind of go, you've really lost touch with who you were, man.
It's kind of hard to be punk forever, though, I guess. Yeah, I mean, because like I'm a big fan of Jeff Rosenstock, and if you don't know Jeff Rosenstock, he's a New York musician, punk artist, and to be fair, he's still really punk. But before his solo project, he worked on Bomb the Music Industry, and the whole point of that band was to do shows for really cheap. Bear in mind, they had a full band, no more than $10. All the merch was free. You brought you brought a blank T-shirt and no spray paint it on. All the music was free online. So the idea was it's supposed to be accessible punk, and that actually got them really, really famous because of that. But also with that though, he slept in. They totally relied on like sleeping in other people's cars and houses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was very infrastructure wise. They didn't pay any for that much, which is really cool. But also, I think the reason why Jeff went to do solo for a bit is we went solo in like 2012 is because he's like, I don't think. Like he's turned at 35. He's like, I can't do this anymore. Yeah, I mean, you can't. It's not sustainable at a certain point. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason we don't do live sketch comedy anymore, mate. It's pretty much exactly that. Yeah, there's a point where you go like, this doesn't feel grown up or dignified in any way. Yeah, it's exciting doing that stuff in your 20s, and then you get older and you're like, oh.
Absolutely. I'm 20. Well, when this goes out, 27. But I just think that when I first started comedy when I was like 19, I was like, yeah, sure, it'd be great. Yeah, I can drive all the way to Leeds. For no money, that's fine. But I just think that you kind of lose that pep, or you get more rational about it as well.
Totally.
Yeah, but you still have the punk ideals as well. But Idols, what a wicked band to have, and I think people will know quite a lot about them. But after Idols, who do you have, buddy?
Then we've got Run the Jewels.
Oh, hello. Ooh, hello. Ooh.
See, it is going off. Run the Jewels, a hip-hop duo, absolutely brilliant, very political, and their album this year, Run the Jewels 4, RTJ4, it's my album of the year.
Yeah, it's so sublime, isn't it? It's great.
And it's so... I mean, it blew my mind listening to it for the first time because it was around the time of the Black Lives Matter movement, and they'd written the songs before any of that had blown up.
Yeah,
but everything was so relevant. What they were saying, it was like they'd written them on the day of the release.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with Killer Mike, who is so articulate, and he's like a modern day civil rights leader. Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
Honestly, the way that he speaks and conveys himself is so wonderful and articulate as well.
Yeah,
and he has there's a Netflix show called I think it's Trigger Mike.
Trigger Warning. Killer Mike.
And it's quite out there, the kind of things he does, but it's pretty mad, astonishing.
It's absolutely mad, but it is fucking brilliant.
Yeah. There is a bit in the first episode, he only tries to support black businesses. So anything that isn't black business, he doesn't buy for like a whole week. He's a bit like a Danny Wallace experiment, if you know what I mean. But there's this bit where he's been so hungry because he can't buy anything because he's like all of it's like not black owned, and he goes to he thanks this man at a shop. He goes, oh, "This is your chicken shop, right?" He goes, "Yeah," and he's eating this chicken. He's like, "Oh my god, it feels so good." And then his partner goes, "Well, is that chicken from a black organised farm?" You just see him have despair in his eyes. It's so funny, but also it talks about a lot of those things and how deep rooted it all is, and it's very clever.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that album is an astonishing listen. So good.
Also, with past RTJ, there's a lot of great cameos and like guest appearances. Like Zach De La Roche does an amazing song with them as well.
Yeah, Zach De La Roche does a bunch. Yeah. But that was the first song of theirs I heard was was that song.
Yeah. And I think it's they're very poignant, and I think have you ever seen them live? Are they quite good live?
I have. Yeah, I've seen them live twice, and they're brilliant. Have I seen them twice? I think I've seen them twice. I've definitely seen them once. Yeah, they're amazing. And but they were the big. I missed one Glastonbury. from when I first started going, which was like 2013. So it's not that long, but I've been to all of them since. And there was one I couldn't make, and that was the one that they had played at. And that was like the gig of the festival for Tom and his brother. And I was so gutted to have missed out on that. So yeah, it was amazing seeing that. They did one a few years back, but they were on the Pyramid stage at that point, and that was amazing. Oh yes, I have seen it. And then I also saw them at the Brixton Academy.
That's so cool.
They're amazing.
How is the Brixton Academy as a venue? Because I've heard it's quite legendary, and I've never been there personally myself. But do you think it's got a legendary status?
I think so. I mean, I've not seen that many. I should go a lot more often because it's not that far. You know, I'm South London, so it should be my local in a way. But I saw RTJ there, and actually that Janelle Monáe gig where she came on, I saw her there, and that was weird as well because we were up on the balcony for that, so it's quite strange seeing a band, particularly like that, where you really want to be up and dancing, but you're in a seat. But she put on such a show that it didn't, you know. Obviously, you wanted to be up and dancing, but it didn't matter that much because the visuals of it were astonishing as well.
There's nothing more demoralising when you go to a gig and you start dancing in your seat. Because I usually get into the standing area, but there's nothing worse than a security guard saying, "Please sit down." It's like, come on, mate, come on. I mean,
it's music.
Yeah,
it's not how it's supposed to be enjoyed.
It's not theatre, you know what I mean? And even if I was in theatre, other people would probably be talking anyway. Never mind. But yes, that's awesome. So let's go for Saturday night headline as well. Let's go straight for it. Who do you have for smashing your Saturday?
Well, funnily enough, I've got Rage Against the Machine.
Yes! Oh my god! Well, what? I'm gonna pretend I knew that. It's like a natural segue right there. Rage, yes. Oh my god,
That's
love Rage.
Yeah, and they had a tour with Run the Jewels booked. But it was, you know, pre-pandemic and they had to cancel. I don't know if they had any UK dates, but that would be an absolute dream. I only ever seen Rage Against the Machine once live. Yes. And that was at, I think, Leeds Festival.
Oh, I tell you what, right? Was that 2008, was it?
No, it was before that. It was before they split up the first time. So I think it was it was in the 90s.
Okay, yeah.
I think it was more like 99 or something.
I actually saw them at Download after the number one Rage Against the Machine got to number one for Christmas. And that was pretty cool. And they were such a gobsmacking band. I saw them when I was young. They talked about political issues, but also they put on such a bombastic show. Do you know what I mean? And and there was also a bit in their show where people being too rowdy, so they had to. To be fair, I think they were told, but hey guys, we're gonna have to stop the show for a second, take a step back, care for each other, and let's go. And that's so important, particularly in the metal community. That's really what happens. It's really good to have that camaraderie as well.
Definitely.
So tell me about your experiences with Rage and why are they good for the headline slot?
So, the start of the beginning, they were like my favourite band once I kind of cut my own route in music, and I listened to their first album. I had it on tape. I didn't mention it before because I was like, I'll save them for the headline slot. I had them on tape and just listened to that album just over and over and over. Couldn't stop listening to it in my kind of late teens. But I was actually really scared to go and see them live because they were also one of my mates at school. He was a big fan of theirs, and he was like, "Oh, it's too, it was too much." Went to see him. I had to just stand at the back. It was insane. So I was like, I was a bit like, "Oh no, I'll get beaten up or something." And I think that's I think if you've not been in a big mosh, that's what you think a mosh is. It's just like getting punched or whatever. Where actually, it's like being in a friendly fight.
Yes.
Normally,
absolutely.
there are people, they're looking after you, you're jumping together. If someone falls over, everyone like picks them back up again. And that's actually like being in a big mosh is an incredible experience. But I didn't know that until a bit later on.
Yeah, but it's so scary, isn't it? Like, because I remember similarly, I went to go and see Slayer at a festival. Do you know Slayer?
Yeah, I know.
And they're brutal as brutal comes as well. And I remember just being literally petrified. Like, there were circle pits everywhere. And I was like, oh God, please don't make me go in them. Like chickening out.
Yeah, that's it. But so then later, I think now they've become even more relevant than the first time rounds in the kind of political landscape. And I've suddenly started, and this is a real kind of loser thing to do, really. But I've got really into watching reaction videos of people watching their songs for the first time.
Yeah.
And it's because people just get so mind blown of like, what? This was in the 90s. This is like it was written for now.
Yeah.
And also watching a load of hip hop heads thinking they're just going to watch another kind of rock band.
Yeah.
And being blown away by, the fact that they are kind of, rap rock and which is a genre generally is a little bit embarrassing.
Yeah, it had some muddied waters, particularly in 2000. New metal came along and ruined it for everyone. Yeah, I mean, like
that's it. I've got a mate who's a massive new metal fan.
Yeah,
but he kind of he also knows that it's kind of like a bit of an embarrassing genre, but he just loves it because that was his childhood and that's what he was into. But that was the thing with Rage. It was like I loved them so much. I was like, this is the music for me. Mm-hmm. But trying to find another band like them was impossible because there just wasn't. So you go like, there's Limp Bizkit, but really, they're a joke.
Yes.
Or there's Pod, or there's like a PID. But there's like a bunch of bands that were kind of trying to do the same thing, but really none of them came in my mind came anywhere close to Rage Against the Machine. So that is why they're my headliner.
That's amazing, and. I think with that, let's head over to your Sunday. Before we do that, do you have a particular? Is there kind of a party vibe at your festival? Are people going to go away and get drunk? Is there kind of like a dancey kind of vibe to it?
Well, I tell you what, actually, I did write it in that on the Friday night I put in an indie disco for afters.
Yes,
because I started to feel a bit guilty that actually, having said indie rock, there's not that much in the lineup. Yeah,
I was going to say I was quite shocked about it, to be honest. Not shocked, that's too strong of a term, but like I was interested by that.
Well, I realised that one of the reasons that is that kind of indie rock in the late 90s I loved, and that was my genre. And every Saturday night me and Tom would go to the Civic Hall in Wolverhampton. They had Blast Off, which was this massive indie rock club.
Yes.
And it was amazing. But what I've realised is with a lot of those bands, I like a few of their songs, but they were never like album bands for me.
Yeah, because some of them are just best of, you know what I mean? Like, there's as much as you love a certain band, there are some. I've learned some of them are just, you know what, their hits are good, but some of the albums are just like not that good.
That's
you know what I mean? And that's fine.
Yeah, that's it. And like Ash, yes, I really liked Ash in 1977. And the one band that I really kind of laboured, I put them in and I took them out a couple of times was Blur. And that, for me, that's a band that I love through and through. But also, I was kind of aware Tom used
well, you're welcome to do your own festival. This is absolutely
that's it. So they just missed the cut.
You know what, Ben? If you're welcome to come back anytime on this podcast, and you can put Blur in them. I think that'd be
Thanks.
Yeah, and obviously their support band will be Matt Hoss and Ben Clark, and the filthy word I said earlier. All right,
this is why you want me back, mate. It's because you want another band rehearsal.
Yeah. Sorry, that's what I've been saying. Yeah, when I say podcast recording, I mean get your amp. We're gonna play. So, final day and final artist. So far, so good. We are smashing it out. Some very specific Bentonville right now. I'm really loving it because it has its own kind of vibe. But let's see where Sunday takes us. Who's your first act for Sunday then?
Well, we went really hard Saturday. Mm-hmm. And if I know me, I would have gone a bit too hard.
Mm-hmm.
and I'd really need some healing.
First day 10.
Yeah. my Sunday opening artist, musical healing, is Phoebe Bridgers.
Oh, hell my... Oh, and talking about albums of the year, 2020 Punisher. Oh my God,
Yeah.
such a mind-blowing album. Kyoto is just fantastic.
Oh, yeah. Amazing. And I that was it. On my most listened to, she was actually came out as my top artist.
Oh,
RTJ
amazing.
were in the second place, believe it or not. And yeah, Phoebe Bridgers.
Yeah, I think Phoebe Bridgers has that unique talent where it's both poetic, beautiful, but also highly just like devastating as well. Do you know what I mean? It's like there's a lot of cuts in her music, and it's just so beautifully written.
So I can imagine having to, sit cross-legged in a field, leave the shades on, have a bit of a cry.
Yeah, exactly.
I've done it before, I'll do it again.
Yeah.
And listen to Phoebe Bridgers.
I think we are very similar then.
It's why a band's really going to click.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, and again, I've never seen her live, so this is another opportunity for me to see an act that I've not yet had the chance to see.
And all of her music's so wonderful as well. And I can't, just trying to think from the top of my head. She does a collaboration album as well. There's a song called Dylan Thomas. Let me just...
I was gonna, because she kind of in a super group with Lucy Dacus as well.
She seems to be tapped into some really awesome stuff. Like the one I was thinking of was Better Oblivion Community Center, who are, oh my God, that album is so fantastic. And she does a lot of the vocals on that. I'm not sure how much more she's involved, whether she wrote some of the songs, but the songs are all amazing. So yeah,
great.
She has such a wealth of... She can write lots of different songs and really smash them out as well.
Yeah, she's next level.
Mm-hmm. As you say, next level. I think she's going to be, in the next 20 years, she'll be like headliner. You know what I mean? Like she'll be like she'll be like a legend. If you know what I mean. So yes. So after Phoebe, who have you got, mate?
Then I've got a slightly odd one, band called Wolfpack.
Oh, I know Wolfpack.
Do you?
Yeah, I don't think I've listened to him too much. Yeah. So tell me more about Wolfpack.
Well, I came across them because it was actually another artist I was into, and I toyed with putting him on, a guy called Corey Wong, who's predominantly a guitarist, and he kind of does, he's kind of like funky groove kind of guitarist. His stuff's amazing, really accomplished stuff, but not in the kind of traditional kind of big guitar solo way, more in kind of like, as I say, just like a funky groove. Mm-hmm. And he plays with Wolfpack quite a lot.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I quite like quite often in when we go to Glastonbury, we'll head over to, I think it's Williams Green, and see some kind of more kind of jazzy stuff in the daytime. And they're not 100% jazz, I say. They're more on the funk side, but they just do really great, catchy. They sound almost like, and this doesn't sound like a good advert for them, but quite often they sound a bit like kind of theme tunes to old TV shows.
Yeah,
like the 70s TV shows where, the kind of like funky, big brass section kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
But also they do loads of collabs, get loads of artists in. They're a load of fun. And also again on YouTube, which is clearly how I see a lot of music now.
Yeah.
They do really good, fun kind of live music videos. So they're definitely one to check out if you've never heard of them.
Amazing. And it definitely fits very nicely with a Sunday as well. It has the Sunday vibe. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's it. And they're starting to get me kind of back in the mood.
Exactly.
It's starting to get me standing up.
Yeah.
And maybe a warm can of beer by this point.
Oh, there's nothing... I love it and also hate it when you're at a festival, you have a warm beer in your pocket that you've had for a while, you're quite hungover, you're a bit disorientated, but you're going to drink it anyway.
Yeah, 100%. And you go, you know what, actually... It's so weird because any other time of year, I'd absolutely hate the thought of drinking a warm can of beer.
Yeah.
But at a festival, it's like, this tastes like a festival.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. But yeah, so after Wolfpack, who do you have?
We get into legend territory.
Hello.
And for me, one of my favourite all-time artists is Paul Simon.
Oh, strong. You come out there hitting the sixes. Hello, Paul Simon, what a legend. I mean, what a perfect Sunday. That's Paul Simon is like the ultimate Sunday afternoon. Like, he's a legend sport of legend sports, right?
Yeah, totally. And again, I've never seen him live. So these three artists I've never actually seen live. And Paul Simon's properly bucket list for me. Mm-hmm. And he's something else. And also he's like my dad's favourite artist. Mm-hmm. And kind of Graceland, I would say, is my favourite album of all time.
Yeah. But like his albums are so diverse and wonderful as well. Like, and you can't go wrong with any of the albums. You know what I mean? Like,
that's it. It's such a long, storied career. So many hits along the way. Mm-hmm. Just love the guy.
Yeah, and it's so upbeat as well. Like, I just think you can put on any Paul Simon song if you're feeling like low, and it'll pick you right up. Do you know what I mean? I think like I do genuinely use that as well. It's so upbeat and infectious. It's great.
Here's one for you, actually, a little muso fact for you. The album Graceland doesn't have one minor chord in it.
Really?
Yeah, the entire album.
That is very interesting. Oh,
it's mad, isn't it?
God, let me kiss you with that fact. Wonderful. I don't think we need to say more about Paul Simon. It's quite clear that we just utterly in love. Great choice. So that's like the legend sport. Who's going to have the hard job of dealing with Paul Simon?
Well, this is definitely a Clarky choice. And when I thought, if that's my dad's influence, my next band is 100% my brother's influence. So you'll be lucky to know it's not Deacon Blue. but it's close. It's the first band I ever saw live. My brother took me to the gig, and they've remained one of my favourite bands of all time. A lot of people would find it a little bit of a cringy choice, but I personally love them. It's Crowded House.
Crowded House, okay. I'll be honest, Crowded House is... I've only known them from listening to Pappy's. I've never listened to them in my life before.
Oh, mate, treat yourself. You've got to know Weather With You. Everywhere you go, always take the weather with you. No?
Oh yeah, I do recognise that now. Yeah, but
they actually their best of album was Recurring Dream. That was advertised on TV as like the band you know more than you think you do.
Yes, yeah.
Like a lot of their songs, I think a lot of people would have that reaction, but then be like, "Oh, I know this one.
Yeah,
oh yeah, I like this one."
For my sins, I had that with Fleetwood Mac because I only really got into Fleetwood Mac about a couple of years ago, and if you didn't know it was made by them, every song I listened to was like, "Oh my god, this is brilliant! I've heard this song before." Yeah, I mean, like it's quite revolutionary.
Yeah, totally.
You've mentioned nostalgia as a reason why you love Crowded House, but what else? What made you love them in the first sight?
Well, I do genuinely think that Woodface is one of the best albums of all time. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there aren't many people who would agree with that statement.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think it's amazing. I think they've got loads of hits, and the concert I went to is they were promoting their follow-up album Together Alone. Which I also love loads, and I just that was my brother made me a tape of a load of their songs. Mm-hmm. He put like 2 albums on it, and I just listened to that when I was a kid in bed on my stereo. Just listened to it over and over and over again. That was like every night I'd fall asleep listening to Crowded House. Absolutely love them. You
only really get one band like that, don't you? The one band. Well, maybe a few bands in your life, but there's one, especially as a teenager, where the one where it's on repeat all the time. It's part of your culture and DNA at that point. Yeah, I mean,
that's it. And that was the preschool. That was a pre-secondary school playlist. Obviously, when I got to secondary school, and people are like, "What bands are you into?"
Yeah,
and I'm like, Crowded House.
Yeah,
that answer was never once met with any kind of positivity.
Yeah, bless.
You fucking what, mate?
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree as well. But then again, I think to be fair, I didn't really have like a musical revolution until it was like year 8 or 9, and that's when I really went deep onto music. Do you know what I mean? Like I really started. So I think I've always been a little bit of an outsider in that way. I've always been. I always felt like I've never really quite fit into my music choice. Has always been a bit weird and strange, if you know what I mean. So I think, but that being said, I was a massive fan of the Beatles as a teenager, but but all the deep stuff, if you know what I mean, like not the
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's I think that's what I've So I think Crowded House is a great shout for that very reason. So.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, but brilliant. So, Paul Simon and Crowded House. Who's going to follow Crowded House? Who knows?
Well, we find ourselves in a very similar situation to last time, where they've come up in the penultimate band chat. Our headliner is Fleetwood Mac.
Is it? Oh my god!
Yeah. Genuinely.
Oh wow! And
So I was like, well, I'm not going to join in that chat quite, because I'm going to wait. The same when Zach De La Rocca came up during the R2J chat.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to chat about him, but I'm just going to save it for a second.
I thought you were just disinterested in what I was saying. Right?
Well, I mean, Matt, there is that too, of course.
Well, I'll tell you what, I need you to go through past episodes with a firm marker and just say cut. No, but yeah, Fleetwood, people have picked Fleetwood before, not as frequently as I think they would do, but also Fleetwood are the perfect Sunday night headliner, and I've genuinely believed that. I think they are, because they have hit after hit. They're legendary, but also they're not too in your face. You know, they're not too rocky. It's the perfect. It's the perfect bow of your festival experience.
Exactly that, and I think the thing is as well, with a festival, everyone's got in the back of the head, do I leave on the Sunday?
Yeah.
Do I get the tent packed up, watch a band halfway through the day? We've done it loads of time, and then go, okay, let's call it a day. Let's get in the car, and then we're not gonna, the festival doesn't bleed into the next week too much, and we start the recovery process. If Fleetwood Mac is your Sunday headliner, no one's leaving.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No one's leaving the site that day. And also it means that no one's going to leave during Crowded House, and they're going to get to prove to everyone what a brilliant band they are, because everyone's going to want their spot for Fleetwood Mac.
So wait, hold on. You're bribing or /blackmailing people to see Crowded House, being like, well, if you want to see Fleetwood in a good position, you better come front.
100%, yeah, 100%.
You're gonna ask people to box people out, like, right, I'm boxing. You're not moving anywhere, dickheads. You know what I mean? So everyone has to stay in place for Crowded House.
That's it.
Yeah.
100%, mate. Crowded House. I'm buying them their comeback.
Absolutely.
Because I'm sure they'll win people over if you see them. I can't believe I'm talking about Crowded House during the Fleetwood Mac chat. But guys, just go listen to Woodface, man.
Or Fleetwood Face.
Fleetwood Face.
It's quite hard to say that. I tried to do it very naturally, but it's quite very jarring. Which would, to be fair, it's the collaboration of a lifetime.
But of course, I have seen Crowded House live. I have seen Fleetwood Mac live, which of course was an amazing experience. But I saw it at the O2, and I've seen a couple of bands at the O2, and it's great. But it's not my favourite way to see a band. A stadium gig is not.
No, for sure.
It's not the best setting for live music, and generally I prefer much smaller gigs. Mm-hmm. The only exception is a festival, where I think you can get thousands upon thousands of people watching, and it still be an amazing experience.
Yeah, because I think it's still amazing regardless of where you are in the field. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think you can be wherever. Like, and yeah, I think there's it's a stadium level, but with the camaraderie of a small gig. That's what that's what a festival is, and I think that's why.
Definitely, you have your little pocket, and you still feel like you're enjoying it with your little group of friends, because you're in a field, you can move around. You're not stuck in seats, which is generally how stadium gigs seem to go. Again, it's that thing of, it's more theatre than anything. You're slightly disconnected from the music. Getting up and dancing is quite hard to do. When we saw them, we were actually in in terms of proximity, we were in quite a good place, but we were almost like behind them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just not quite the same.
No.
You're not engaged. You don't feel like, you want that connection with the band, which is quite hard to have.
Yeah.
If you stood behind.
Yeah, absolutely. Be like, oh.
I wasn't backstage, by the way. I wasn't VIP.
You were playing drums.
I think the slightly strange thing with Fleetwood Mac is as well was because they're kind of like two bands.
Yes.
They're kind of the Peter. Is it Peter Greenwood?
Think so. Yeah.
Peter Green. I'm sticking wood on the end of everything now.
Peter Greenwood face.
He was like, phenomenal guitarist, and they were much more bluesy back then. But I still really like that version of Fleetwood Mac as well as the kind of more poppy second wave of them.
Yeah.
So if there were any way to get some of those classics in there as well,
for sure,
that would be very nice.
Yeah, and I think so. Why do you think Fleetwood are? Whereabouts do Fleetwood do they have a special place in your heart, or do you just think they're just quality musicians, or what's the attraction for you?
I would say now, I'd say again, if I would say like best albums of all time, Rumours would 100% have to be in the top 10.
Yeah.
In fact, top 5.
Yeah, for sure.
Would have to be there. But again, a bit like you, I didn't come to that album until, I'd say sometime during the last decade, where I actually listened to Rumours from start to finish. Mm-hmm. I obviously knew a load of the songs, but, didn't actually have... I'm sure my dad did have it on vinyl as a child, so I must have heard it, but it wasn't played as often as Graceland. Clearly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I definitely know a load of their stuff, but I think I only came to really, really appreciate them a bit, bit later in life.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's a perfect way to finish off your festival, and
thanks, mate.
It's a great festival, mate, and I really, really loved it. But I think it's now time to head to some floor fillers. As with event management, things are bound to go wrong, so here's a couple of hypothetical questions that Ben has to deal with in the manner that he sees fit. Okay. Oh no! Rage Against the Machine have cancelled last minute. Who do you get to replace them?
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh mate!
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
Oh, this is devastating.
Yeah.
Oh Christ! How do you fill that spot?
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it?
I'm torn between either going with Foo Fighters, who they definitely don't scratch the itch in the same kind of way. I've
got a suggestion for you. How about Limp Bizkit? No, I'm joking.
Mate, I almost shut my laptop.
Yeah. Right, this is unacceptable.
Yeah, kind of as I said earlier on, there was no one else quite like them.
Well,
so
yeah,
but I think Foo Fighters. Again, I've seen them headline at Glastonbury, and they put on one hell of a show. And I think, again, we watched them with a load of people who were very eye-rolly about watching them, and I think it's impossible to stay that way when you're watching them.
Yeah,
obviously they've got hits to burn, they've got the big songs. You might find them kind of quite dad rock, but they're so engaging. They do everything so well.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're such an excellent band. And the other one I was thinking of was Muse, but I think I'll stick with Rage. Oh wait,
yeah. We'll have Rage.
Guys, I've taught them round. Don't worry about it. I've really entered into the spirit of this podcast and just gone, nah, mate. Nah, mate. I've had a chat to them backstage.
Yeah.
They're fine now. No, I go with Foo Fighters.
Well, I think you're the first person to go. No, you know what? The person Rage have cancelled, but I've got Rage to fill in. I was like, what?
I'm not gonna yes and your question at all. I'm just gonna be like, no, mate. What are you talking about? I've already spoken to them. They're into it.
The famous improv rule of no, fuck you. Oh my goodness, you have one extra slot to fill on your stage. However, your sponsors say you have to pick someone from your most recently played on Spotify. Who would you pick from your most recently played?
Oh, that's tough because I think I've got quite a lot of them already on the lineup.
Yeah, it's...
Oh, can't have that. Can't have them. Oh no. I'm like literally just looking down all the bands that have already been on there. I'm gonna go with Blur.
Blur, nice. They have made it. They made it.
They'd only they were out by the skin of their teeth, but they're back in now.
Wonderful. Okay, so Crowded House and Janelle Monáe hate each other's guts. They absolutely hate each other. They say they won't perform if the other band will be performing. Who would you pick out of the two of them?
Oh, mate! Why are you doing this to me?
I feel really bad now.
This hurts so bad.
This is for fillers. It's hot. It's tough.
But what's really difficult is obviously Janelle Monáe's headlining a night.
Yeah.
But I've not seen Crowded House since they were the first band I've ever seen live, and I've not seen them since.
To be honest, I thought this would be a hard one. So
You've ripped my heart in twain.
Oh no! Oh god!
I'm gonna go with Crowded House.
Oh wow! It's bold decision.
Yeah, it really is, and I feel like that is gonna be so unpopular a choice with the festival goers.
Yeah. Well, you can always do a classic Clarking. You know what? I think I'm gonna pick Crowded House and Janelle Monáe.
Yeah. Do you know what? I quite like having Ben on the podcast. He really doesn't like to pick up the ball and run with it, though, does he? You throw him a curveball, he's like, no.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh dear, someone's running late for your festival, but fortunately, you're okay to fill for time because one of your favourite celebrities is willing to do a DJ set for you. It don't have to be a DJ, but which celebrity would you pick?
Oh, a celebrity to do a DJ set. I'd go with Jarvis Cocker.
Oh yeah, so he would definitely be around Benstival.
I'm certain I've seen him DJ a couple of times at the aforementioned Blast Off night in Wolverhampton.
Yeah,
he's definitely. I mean, again, not having Pulp on there is quite a big call. I'm absolutely flabbergasted that Tom didn't put him on. Yeah, and I'm sure that if I text him and said you didn't do Pulp, he'd properly kick himself.
Yeah,
because he worships Jarvis Cocker, and he is like one of the most charismatic frontmen to have ever graced the stage. Mm-hmm. I think he'd put on one hell of a show for a DJ set.
Absolutely. One of your acts have forgotten their equipment, but good news, they can do their set acoustic. Which band, if you had to choose, would you pick to do an acoustic set?
Oh well, this is such a cop out, but I'd go with Phoebe Bridgers.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that is a cop out, but it's fine.
it's so poor, but I mean it would suit it.
Yeah, it's fine, absolutely.
Let me see who else. Do you know what? I think Hall and Oates would do a great acoustic set actually.
Yes, see now that's something special right there. Yeah, and acoustic Friday night. It has the party elements, but ready to rock. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's it, and that's the kind of the calm before the storm of Janelle Monáe.
Yeah.
Oh wait a second, sorry, it's the calm before the storm of Crowded House.
One of two they're doing. Your fans are in the mosh pits. They're crowd surfing, but they're also doing something called the Clarky. What do you think that might be?
Well, I'd say what it is having to go out of the mosh and have a little lie down.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what I had to do when I saw Rage Against the Machine live, because I went so hard and I was so excited to see them and I was jumping, plus I was screaming all the lyrics at the top of my lungs, and then about halfway through I suddenly thought, I think I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
Like I'm just absolutely wigging out here. I just can't handle it anymore. It's the most knackered I think I've ever been.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I had to stagger out and just lie on the floor, and there was literally steam coming off me.
Yes, I remember going to see Jeff Rosenstock in London, and I travelled all the way down from the northeast to go and see him because he was only doing that one day in London. And on the way down, my girlfriend broke up with me over it.
No.
And so I was quite emotional as it was, but I got into... basically, I was in the mosh pit for it all night, and it was the most crazy gig I've ever been to in my life. Like, it was super punk. People were all into it. Like it felt like in the 90s. We were right up against the speakers because the barrier had broken in the first song.
Oh, no.
That's the kind of vibe. That's the kind of vibe it was, and it was brutal all the way through, but brilliant. But also afterwards, I had to go and sleep in. I booked a last minute a hostel to sleep in, and my trousers were just sogging wet, and I left them on a radiator to dry overnight to get and in the morning we were still wet. Do you know what I mean? That's the kind
of I bet your room smelt delicious as well.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, 3 drunk Liverpudlians came in and was like, "Yeah, mate, let's put on the fucking light, mate." You know what I mean? Like, yeah, so and I'm not sure if that accent will stay in the edit, but like. But okay, final question for you, Ben. Your festival loves you, and they, although they're not very happy with their Benstival on their feet, but they want you to sing one song at the festival. If you had to pick one song to join the artists in and sing along with, who would you pick?
Wow, that's an incredible question. I think I'd have to go with Paul Simon and Call Me Al.
Oh yes, absolutely. That's a great shout. Absolutely wonderful, and yeah. Pure joy. I
mean, maybe the greatest song of all time?
Yeah, well, it's instantly upbeat, and yeah, it's instant classic. Yeah, I think it's a fair shout, actually, isn't it? What a festival, and thank you so much for that. That's the end of Floor Fillers and the end of the show. But Ben, where can people find you online, and would you like to plug anything, mate?
Pappy's Flatshare, which is our podcast. I'd love it if you had a listen.
Yeah, it's so good.
Thanks, mate.
Also, why don't you join them on Patreon? Because both Matthew, Tom, and Ben have all been in the podcast, and they all done really awesome festivals, and we really support Pappies here. So go check out their Patreon and to get bonus content as well.
Thanks, mate.
And where can people find you online, Ben?
Twitter. But I think I'm at Ben Pappy.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Add me on Facebook? I don't know.
Tell you what, instead of doing that, just go to the nearest rotisserie chicken stand, and you'll be there. So
yeah, I'll be there.
I'll be there, like Batman of the of cholesterol.
If you all you need to do is to start turning a chicken around, and I turn up.
Like the worst bat signal in the world. Ew, it's a bit lemony this side. In every Nando's is Ben Clark.
Oh yeah, that's pretty much true. Extra hot all the way, baby.
And what else was extra hot was, I was going to say your festival, but I was trying to do a segue then. Didn't
I thought it was great.
Thank you.
Stick with it. I love that.
Well, also, if you like this podcast, please come and support Castival. You can check out past episodes for free on Apple and Spotify. You can also give us a follow at Castival Podcast and follow me at Matt Hoss Comedy online. If you've got your own festival lineup you would like to submit, why don't you? Email us at castivalpodcast@gmail.com. We'll do a fan special soon. We also have a Patreon as well where you can listen to bonus content with all my guests. But please give a massive thank you to my wonderful guest and someone I think we're going to be best friends after this. It is Ben Clark.
Cheers, mate. Thanks so much for having me. What a joy.